join us today. I hope that you enjoy your time here at Hallis Hall and also get a chance to enjoy our great city, the city of Chicago. I want to welcome, briefly, I just want to make sure I say welcome to Marc and to his family, which are located over here. His wife, Cindy, daughter, Sarah, Ann, and Chloe. Wanted to say hi to them. Wanted to say hi to Aaron Cromer, our new offensive coordinator. Where are you at, Aaron? Up in the back. Okay. And Jody Camillus, their new assistant head coach and special teams coordinator, who have joined us. Glad that they're here. I also want to tell you that I have a little added pressure today. My dear wife, Beth, who's over here, was not here a year ago, January 30th of 2012, when I was introduced. So she's partaking today with the introduction of our new football coach. I'm very blessed to have this opportunity to represent our ownership, our team, our staff, all the folks that make up the Chicago Bears. I'm blessed to have this great opportunity to present to you our new leader, our new head football coach. The man is going to work with all of us to attain our goals, which is clearly stated and has been stated, to win championships. Before I introduce Marc, I want to take some time and talk about the process. It was an interesting road, and a road well traveled. Any GM, any supervisor always has a list that you, if you're responsible for supervising that individual, that you have a list to replace people if they leave. I had a list. During the evaluation of our team and coaches, I continue to refine that list. When we decided to make a change and search for a new head football coach, that list was updated. So we were prepared to start talking to a number of candidates. Being thorough, I wanted to double check my list to make sure it included all the candidates. So I thought, what better way to open up our local papers and see who they have? And they have between 20 and 30. That's a lot of folks to track down. So I decided I'd go with a much smaller version list, tighten that thing down so that I wouldn't drive everybody crazy trying to figure out who we were going to hire. I wanted to make it fun for you, but not an undoable task. So after going through that refinement, I had to get out the roadmap and start plotting a course. It took about 2 weeks to sit down one-on-one and get to know these individuals on the list. It's a lot of fine football coaches from a wide variety of backgrounds, which I had spoke to. It was a very inclusive process. I wanted to talk to people from all different backgrounds. That did include a high number of offensive coordinators, but it also included 5 special teams coaches. I know all you guys are going to say you only talked to 4. Well, I talked to 1 without you knowing about it, so I'll just leave that to you, okay? We also reached out to people that we did not interview. We had people reach out to us. There was a wide variety of interest in this job, which to me is the finest job in the National Football League, working for the greatest fans in the National Football League in the best city in the National Football League. It's a gem. It's a prize. And that was expressed to me during those one-on-one interviews. Got a chance to see what the unique skill set of those individuals that I talked to that would lead to being able to attain our goals. What was that person's skill set, the person, the personality, and the skills that he had that would project to be a head football coach that could lead the Chicago Bears to a championship? So we went through that process, those initial one-on-one interviews. Those lasted anywhere from 3.5 to 7 or 8 hours. Obviously, I formed some connection with some of those candidates, and I made that one of the criteria of our search. I wanted to find somebody that would be in lockstep with us, with me, so that we could move together as a team to attain our goals. After that initial round of interviews, we brought in 3 individuals. Those individuals were Marc, were Bruce Arians, and Darrell Bevel. After going through, though, they all 3 came in, and they went through the same rigorous process, about a 7.5 to 8 hour interview. sat down with George McCaskey, our chairman, and Ted Phillips, our president, and we went through a lengthy discussion to talk about those candidates and the skills that they possessed and projecting them to our head football coach position. Great discussions, very thorough discussions. During that process, we eliminated one individual, so it came down to two. Very important of those two candidates is they both had head football coaching experience. The third, Darryl, did not have that on his resume. That was the one reason why he was eliminated from the process. He's an excellent coach with a lot of skills and has a lot to offer. But the overriding factor with Bruce and Mark is they had both had experience in leading men to attaining goals in a positive way. So we had more discussion after we had gotten it down to two. At the end, both George and Ted asked me my thoughts on who was the final person. I gave him my thoughts, and George looked at me and told me that during this process, we always told you at the end, we would defer to your candidate. He said, it's time to defer. Who is the choice? I said, Marc Trestman. I'm very happy with that choice, and I want to talk to you a little bit about what separated Marc from the other candidates. Had an original set of criteria: excellence, high level of organizational administrative skill, energy, the ability and the warmth to pull people together towards a common goal, to make it a shared experience, excellence in their role. Marc met all those standards easily, and the evidence is there. Excellence as a QB coach. One of the top, if not the top, when he left the National Football League in 2004. Excellence as an offensive coordinator. Clearly demonstrated that. He's been part of two high-level offenses, I believe one or two level ranked in the NFL as a coordinator. Excellence as a head football coach. 2 Grey Cup championships, was in a third. So all that had been demonstrated. So I had to ask myself, and I you know, the vision of why Marc Trestman over these other candidates, I came to it today. I did a radio announcement or a radio program this morning, talked about Marc, and I went through those criteria and how he met those criteria. As the day went on a little longer, I said, hey, in your gut, why is it Marc Trestman for you? Okay? What connection, where is that connection? Why Marc over these other candidates for myself? Through all these discussions, what qualities made that connection? Number one, the skills as a professional and the mental toughness that it takes to go into some place that you've never been before, that they don't know you or anything about you, where they speak a foreign language. It's a town unfamiliar to you in a game that is different than the one you're used to coaching. Now you have 12 men instead of 11 to coordinate. To go in that and take on the task of being a head football coach and do it with a staff that you hired. There was no staff in the building when Marc came there. He interviewed and hired all those individuals on their own, and to have great success and to win championships, that tells me a lot about that candidate. That's a candidate I want to be in the room with. I want to be working towards championships with that individual. The perseverance of character. Marc has grown like we all do in his life. He's had personal ups and downs, but at the end, where is he? He's a champion, and now he's the head football coach of the Chicago Bears. It was a road wildly traveled for Marc, not unfamiliar to me. I've been in all corners of this country. I didn't have the fortune that Marc did to experience a new country, but I know what it's like to take small steps towards achieving goals. So there was a connection there. The ability to adapt to players. We had great discussions about the draft and the draft process. The first thing that Marc asked me, the first Mark asked me is, for you, when you're drafting players, is it the best player or the best system fit player? I said, absolutely, it's the best player. You want the best player that can transcend schemes, that has a skill set that will work out and be able to progress as a player regardless of the scheme. He said, good. If I'm the head football coach, let's do that. Because I can take those players and they can adapt. We'll take their skill sets and adapt to what they do best so that we can win. Very attractive, quality, and he's demonstrated it. One of the great stories that I had from Jim Pop, his general manager in Montreal, was Mark. People don't realize how good Mark is at this. Last year they lost their top running back, they lost their top receivers. They came down to the best players on their squad were tight ends. So what did Mark do? He adapted to the circumstances. He put 3 tight ends in the game. He moved the ball and he won games. Not only can he adapt to the personnel, but he adapts to situations very easily. Like I said, he's been in a number of NFL cities, and he's gone up to Canada, and he's always demonstrated excellence. That's a person I want to be in the room with. I want to be on his side. 31 years, I've had the good fortune since college to be involved in this game as a coach or administrator. Mark has a quietness to him, a quiet confidence, high level of intellect. Those are attractive qualities. The thing that was most remarkable that came out in his interviews and when discussing people who Mark is, was there's a heck of a football coach under all that quietness and confidence and intellect. Do not underestimate Marc Trestman as a competitor. He's as tough-minded and football-oriented than anybody I've been around in 31 years in this game. It'll be evident when you see our teams play, with the tempo they play, and with the competitiveness that they play. That's the kind of guy I want to be in the room with. Besides our birthdays falling on one day short of each other, which is also a connection, I have to admit to it. When I looked up and saw his birthday was at 1:15 and mine was at 1:16, and we were into discussions to hire Mark, and I was kind of going back and forth with Cliff Stein and Ted Phillips on whose birthday is this going to fall on. It ended up falling on mine, so I got the present, and Mark got the job. So it all worked out well. Those are the keys in my mind of why Marc Trestman, why he is now the head football coach of the Chicago Bears. And I'm going to share one other thing with you that kept repeating itself to me. Mark shared to me his favorite quote, and he probably during our discussions, our one-on-one discussions, might have said it 8 times to the point where he knew I actually got it. You know, Mark has a law degree. I'm a physical education major. It takes a few reps for me, okay? But Mark said to me, what I do for myself is buried with me. What I do for others lives forever. That said a lot to me about his approach in life and who he is as a person and his personal growth, his journey, his story. He also told me that he got that quote from Criminal Minds. So there was another connection because my wife and I, we love Law and Order and Criminal Minds, so I knew we had a match made in heaven. So on behalf of the McCaskey family, the Chicago Bears, in this great city and our great fans, I'd like to introduce to you Marc Trestman, head football coach, Chicago Bears.
Good morning. I'm filled with an incredible amount and sense of humility today in becoming the head football coach of the NFL's founding franchise. I want to begin certainly by thanking Virginia, George, and the McCaskey family, Ted Phillips, and of course Phil, for this incredible opportunity. This moment, from my point of view, has very little to do with me and very much to do with the McCaskey family, the Chicago Bears, the city of Chicago, and time, its passionate and amazing fan base. Most importantly, I've got to start by thanking my wife Cindy and my daughters Sarah Ann and Chloe for embracing our journey along the way. Together with my mom and dad, who are able to see this day, for instilling me the value of hard work and mental toughness. To all of them, I am truly grateful. In 2008, Cindy and I took a leap of faith that turned out to be an incredible, incredible life experience as we took our football north of the border to coach football in Montreal. I want to digress for just a moment, if I could, and I want to thank Montreal Alouette owner Bob Wittenhall, who saw something in me up to that time others had not seen. And certainly to our brilliant general manager, Jim Pop, our coaches, our players, and in the incomparable quarterback I had the luxury of coaching the last 5 years, Anthony Calvillo. He led the way. You are the ones who got me to this moment. I want to thank IMG as well for helping and supporting and believing in me every step of the way. The Chicago Bears are unquestionably the most loved and storied franchise in the NFL. No doubt. And without question, a premier job, arguably one of the best in all of sports. Someone told me about a week ago, just after my first interview, in Chicago, they love the Bears, but it's beyond passion. It really is. And after going through the interview process, I now see it, and Phil, I now feel it. And thank you again. In my early discussions with Phil and Ted and George, it became readily apparent to me from the beginning this was clearly a franchise that has the highest expectations for its team, where winning consistently is a standard. When you do win consistently, you play for championships on a yearly basis. I understand that, and I confidently embrace it. Believe it or not, I watched Coach Hallis's team play my beloved Minnesota Vikings back in 1966 at Metropolitan Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I also had the unforgiving pleasure to be a first-year coach in the National Football League for Bud Grant and have to play Mike Ditka's 1985 Bears in the Metrodome in Minneapolis. I also got a chance to experience what it's like in old George Halas Stadium at Soldier Field to be able to play the Bears right next to the lake. And I'm excited about it. After the interview process, I do feel the passion. I do feel the sense of urgency. And man, do I feel the commitment to win. I cannot begin to express how excited I am for these challenges that are ahead. The first step has already started, actually, as Phil told us, but will begin as the day continues to move on. We've got to put together a staff of coaches of high character, men who are great teachers, men who are experts in the science of football, the science of our game, that are detailed and organized and are specialists and want to and care about our players and willing to do whatever it takes on a daily basis to help them master their craft. To continue on this level of winning consistently and playing for championships, we got to play smart and we've got to play unselfishly. We got to play tough, physical football, disciplined football. Because in this league, you got great coaches and great players in 31 other cities. And our coaches have to be great at teaching the science of the game because we've always got to be at our best. Our players got to totally understand special situation football and continuity football. And finally, and most importantly, we all have to understand that the quarterback absolutely must play at an efficient level. We will have a locker room where there's really two core values. You gotta love football in this building. Let me say it again. You don't have to love football. You gotta really love football. coincidentally that I'm walking into that kind of locker room. And I feel grateful for that, to be started in that situation. We're going to continue to embrace an organizational culture of respect. Respect for the game, respect for our opponent, and respect for each and every man and woman that walks into this building. Everybody in the organization. There's going to be clarity and truth in our communication, created by a development of what I would call truly working on having authentic relationships with each and every person in this building. Our players are going to compete. They're going to compete on a daily basis on the practice field. And there's going to be a sense of peer-to-peer accountability, not just within each side of the ball, but connected to each and every phase of our football. Our overall philosophy will be very simple. We want to create a locker room based on a humble, a hardworking, disciplined environment. An even-keeled, yet passionate, common sense, no-nonsense approach to our business. We're going to have fun. We're going to enjoy the game. But we are going to have a sense of urgency on a daily basis that when we play on Sunday will give us the edge we need. My role is simple, and it's really exciting. I just want to be a great teacher. I want to empower leadership within our coaching staff and our players. I want to help everyone in the locker room truly master their craft, and I'm asking nothing in return but their best efforts. I'm going to be responsible for keeping Jay and our quarterback safe in the pocket. I'm going to have the pulse of the team each and every day with an unbelievable support group from Phil and the administration in our organization to the coaches and the players that I work with. But all decisions, each and every one, will be a collective process between Phil and I, and always on the football field in the best interest of the Chicago Bears. I'm going to make sure on a daily basis that every coach and every player and every bone in my body make sure that our football team is completely interconnected, where everyone understands that if it's one of us, it's all of us. That will be the primary emphasis on a daily basis, and this is what it'll be in a nutshell. We're going to work in the classroom and on the field to protect the quarterback and go get the quarterback. We're going to protect the ball, and we're going to do everything we can to go get that precious ball. We're going to dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. With that, our football expands. We're going to have the highest standards and values in everything we do. And we will practice. We will practice all of this, and we will practice fast and learn how quickly to respond to the adversity and success we face with each and every play. On special teams, we all know it's winning the battle of field position. It's creating game-changing and explosive plays. We've seen it around here. And we're going to use the best players when possible to get those plays run and those plays done during the course of a game. And most importantly, we want to see our team's pride. We want to see our team's passion within our special teams play that will extend throughout our football team and in the stands. On defense, it all starts with a quarterback, doesn't it? We got to hurry him, we got to hit him, and we got to knock him down. We got to stop the run on first down, and we got to get off the field on third down. And we got to build frustration with opposing offenses. And then we got to do what this team has done best and what this team stands by in the past. We got to create turnovers with every play. On the offensive side, it starts and ends with the quarterback. We got to protect our quarterback, and we got to keep him safe. We got to take care of that precious football with each and every man that has the opportunity to touch it. We got to play smart, multi-dimensional football that's going to attack the field like all the best teams in this league does. And we got to be tough and physical with our mindset, whether it's run or pass. And then finally, I get to do the job I have the most fun with. I get to be compass and roadmap. Or in modern day terms, I get to be the GPS system of the team. Every day our team will know where we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there.
You are watching live coverage of Marc Trestman being introduced as the 14th head coach in the history of one of the NFL charter franchises, the Chicago Bears. The other charter franchise, formerly the Chicago Cardinals, now the Arizona Cardinals, the only team remaining, still searching for a new head coach. Continuing coverage, back to Chicago. Marc Trestman on the podium after this on NFL Network.
You can too, with those vice champions.
The NFL is now hiring new employees. Our organization requires that applicants have a diverse skill set, embrace collaboration, and are able to thrive in a stressful work environment. Prospective employees must be assertive, high energy, and able to show why they are an ideal fit for the company. Apply at the East-West Shrine Game and Senior Bowl, live Saturday and next Saturday on NFL Network.
This guy did something special every single Sunday. He was the face of a franchise.
It's a privilege to be one of the players that will help restore the roar in the dome.
Charged with delivering hope to a city.
Barry had that flash.
He was one of those guys that just stood out.
Until he unexpectedly walked away.
You know, if you're not careful, you can really get lost. I just felt like that was my time.
Barry Sanders, A Football Life, Monday at 8:30, exclusively on NFL Network.
Help kick off the Pepsi Super Bowl 47 halftime show. Submit your picture, and millions of people can see you welcome Beyonce in the world's first crowdsourced halftime intro. Upload your photo at Pepsi.com.
Anyone have occasional constipation, diarrhea, gas, bloating? Yes. One Phillips Colon Health probiotic cap each day helps defend against these digestive issues with 3 strains of good bacteria. Live the regular life. Phillips.
I heard a deranged clown lurks in these woods. I heard Little Caesars has pizza for $5.
You heard right! Get a hot and ready pepperoni pizza for $5 or a 3-meat treat for $8 at Little Caesars.
Pizza.
Someday, your life will flash before your eyes. Make it worth watching. Introducing the 2013 Lexus LS, an entirely new pursuit.
After a 15-minute introduction, a 12-minute speech, Marc Trestman finally taking questions at Hallis Hall.
That use in this league, and I have identification and connections with coaches down here. I've spent a lot of time, as I've said to Phil, my makeup time comes with players and the personnel size of it, and I've got to get going. I can't wait to get out of this room and get started and start learning more about our football team and the teams in this league so I can catch up. We're going to hire coaches who have great familiarity with our league and will pick me up. It'll get me up to speed very quickly.
Marc, will you be in the quarterback room and can you talk about your role? All right. Talk about your role as play caller.
The process, it's a great question. The process we've used in the last 5 years, the model is that I'll be in with the quarterback coach and the coordinator in the quarterback meetings on the field. We're going to go hip to hip with the quarterback, and so there'll be an involvement. It'll be an involvement that'll will be intense, but that won't limit my job. I still have to maintain and know what's going on and connect our defense and our special teams as well. And there'll be time to do that. I've experienced that up in Canada.
I read that you just, dating back when you were a little kid.
I can't. You got to speak up. I'm sorry.
Dating back when you were a kid, you drew up plays and things. You obviously enjoy the play calling element. Are you going to continue to do that?
I'll continue to do that and still continue to do the things that I think are necessary to fulfill my obligation in total as the head football coach.
You wonder if you're ever going to get this opportunity. And I read Jordan's book talking about how the stuff you made. Do you ever think you would get this chance then?
I never thought about it because I'd really transformed my thinking at that time. I mean, I thought it when I made the move. It was certainly a leap of faith, as I said, but I needed to go up there because Jim Bob Wittenhall, gave me the opportunity to be a head football coach. And I needed to hone my skills and get to a point where I felt comfortable in a locker room, which I did initially. And I think I've fulfilled that. But while I was up there, my focus was on helping our players be good players and focusing completely on my job and not worried for 1 minute where it was going to take me.
Will Rod Marinelli remain, and if not, what plans do you have for a defensive coordinator?
Okay, it's a great question. I had a chance to talk to Rod, and we had a good discussion. He's made up his mind, I believe, to move on. I know to move on, and we'll begin the process now of identifying those people that could be in a position. But that's a process I'll begin to talk to Phil about once we move on today.
Can you describe the scheme that you run on offense and the scheme you envision on defense?
Well, the envision is going to be based on the talent we have, and before I can do the proper evaluation of our football team, I think that would be premature. I think it's a great question for 2 or 3 months down the road, but for right now, I think the best answer, and really the only answer, is I've got a lot of education to do before I make those kind of statements.
Mark, you're coming to a team that if we're used to, when they win coin tosses, deferring and putting the defense on the field. Are you a guy with the philosophy of wanting to get your offense out there? And of course, you can't control if you win the toss, but if you win the toss, do you want your offense getting the ball first?
The philosophy that we're going to have is we're going to do whatever we can on that specific Sunday to do the best we can to win the game, to be prepared to make the right decisions at the right time. I wouldn't stand here and make those kind of proclamations today. We want to play winning football where at the end of the day we can win the game, and whatever that is on that day, that's what we'll do. There's just too many variables to be able to make a statement like that at the present time.
Mark, what have you learned in 5 years in the CFL that you're bringing back to the National Football League?
Thanks, Dave. Well, one of the things I'm doing is to let people know that the CFL is an unbelievable league with great coaches and great players who love football just as much as the guys down here do and want to be the best they can be. And I can say that because I've been in both locker rooms. So that's number one. And the appreciation for the game that the people in Canada and certainly the province of Quebec have, that's number one. And that's really the most important thing. There's creative guys up there. A lot of the things we see up there, certainly over the last 2 years, we've seen down here. You've seen it, Dave. And that's exciting. And that's all part of it. And then there's just the different elements of growing as a coach and finding, nuances that exist within each and every team and each and every league. So I'm excited about, you know that. I'm excited about where I was and the people I was with. And when I was up there, I was thinking only of that. And now, obviously, my attention turns to one thing, and that's helping the Chicago Bears in any way I can to reach their goals.
Has being a part of that league, Mark, changed you offensively in terms of your philosophy and some of the things that you might do?
Your philosophy is fluid. It changes year in and year out. You see people doing things south of the border, and you see doing things north of the border, and you can watch it, and then you get your research and development, brain set out, and you try to figure out what they're doing because it looks good. So I think there's always nuances, Dan, that take place south of the border, north of the border. Certainly we'll bring some of those things in. There'll be some things that I'll pass along to the coaches, and we'll see if we can retool it and refit it for NFL football, which, going into it, I wouldn't bring it up to them if I didn't thought it had a chance.
Coach Stacey Dale, NFL Network, welcome to Chicago.
Thank you.
What would you view as the most glaring weaknesses and strengths right now at this early stage?
I wouldn't be able to attempt. That's what Phil and I are going to go to work as soon as we get out of here today is the beginning process, is the real fun of going through player by player, segment by segment, putting a football team together. And again, it would be certainly way too premature after looking at a few reels or a little bit of video that I have before I came up here and had time to look at, start talking about. But I'm sure that'll be a question I'll be able to answer more objectively a few months down the road.
Okay. Quickly, with Coach Cromer, how do you size up the offensive line? And you mentioned protecting your quarterback a few occasions.
Well, I haven't spent any time sizing up the line, but I've spent 11 years sizing up Aaron Cromer. I had the privilege of coaching with him in Oakland and evolving there. I've watched him grow and as a football coach, as not only a specialist in his area, but as a complete coach and person. He's evolved, and things happen fast and fluidly in the National Football League, and the organization to be able to accomplish this task will be tremendously important as we move along.
Mark, you've worked under a number of head coaches. Is there any one in particular that has been most influential to you? And if anything, what is the biggest lesson that you did learn from them?
It's a great question, and so many of them were so good. In fact, all of them I learned something from, that if I mention one of them, I'm going to leave out all of them. And if I try to mention all of them, I won't remember some, and I'll regret that. But you learn from everybody, not just your head coaches, but your assistant coaches, and that's how you evolve. And that's why we are where we are today, because I was able to take some of those things. And I, as I said earlier in the press conference, I owe so much to them to bring me to this place in time.
Can you talk about working with a quarterback like Gannon and how that experience is applicable to what you're trying to do with Cutler?
Well, every quarterback is special at the professional level in the National Football League. It is so hard. I mean, playing the quarterback position, are you kidding me? I mean, it's the most difficult position to play in all of sports. You know, quarterbacks have to have multiple levels of ability from physical, mental, emotional. It all goes hand to hand, and then they got to be wired to handle the chaos of a pass rush, trajectory of the football, finding the open guy amidst all this chaos where people are trying to knock him down. You know, these guys are tough guys. They're gym rats. They're wired differently, and that's why I've always, been attracted to working with these guys, because there is so much involved on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis that these guys have to go through. That's why we really have to respect them. It is the toughest job in all of sports.
What do you want to know about Jay Cutler when you interviewed for this job?
I didn't hear you.
What do you want to know about Jay Cutler when you interviewed for this job?
It's a great question. I didn't go in there with any specific questions. I went in there to have a chance to be able to see if we could connect. And we connected immediately. The lunch was never opened. Robin came into the room way too early. The schedule was just too tight, Phil, and we could have sat in there all day and talked football. This guy loves football. He wants to be great. And hopefully we can give him some direction and some protection to allow him not to waste a play, to complete a throwing motion, and get the ball to the right guy. And that's what we're here to do.
You talk about that human mentality. How important are intangibles to that position? Obviously, there's a certain physical skill that's needed, but intangibles at the quarterback position is really one of the reasons maybe that even though some guys are highly drafted, they don't fare as well. How do you instill that, whatever it is, field generalship, leadership?
It's a loaded question, but I'll try to answer with a short answer. Okay? The formula for success for a quarterback in the National Football League is too complicated to project, and we know that over the years, that we think a guy's going to make it and then he doesn't. You know, the number one marriage in all of sports is the marriage between a quarterback and his coach. That's it. It starts there. And then everything proceeds from that. There's got to be a connection, and there's got to be an element of trust, professional trust, that you have to have. I think that we don't have that yet, certainly, but I thought there's indications that we can get started, we got started in the right place. He loves football, and I love football. We're going to have two passionate guys in the room trying to win football games for the Chicago Bears, and that's a pretty good start.
You will be calling the plays?
I will be calling the plays. I will be working with Aaron and our staff in a cooperative manner during the week, so there's accountability and empowerment with our coaching staff, that we're all prepared to play this game on the offensive side, as we will in defense and special teams as well. But the ultimate buck passes through my shoulders. I will be calling the plays to Jay in the headsets each and every day, and I would say that I am calling the plays, obviously with the help and confidence and cooperation of Aaron and our staff. That's the way it's done.
You see it continuing through the years?
Over the 5 years that I was in Canada, I worked this way. I've experienced this. I don't see any difference in the process. And for the fact of the matter is, I love calling plays. I mean, I love ball, and I want to be hands-on and coach football. And because I get to stand in these shoes, as long as Phil lets me and ownership lets me, I get to do that. And I'm going to do that only if it's in the best interest of the team. It's been in the best interest of the team the last 5 years in Montreal, if it's in the best interest of the team, that's what I believe I will start out doing. If that changes, I'll let you know.
You foresee Jay having the authority to check off on plays if it calls for that?
The quarterback's going to have the keys to the car, okay? He's going to have the keys to the car because he's in the best situation before the snap of the ball to get us in the best play. That's certainly part of football, will be part of football here. It's part of football throughout our league. So I don't anticipate, and Jay's not a first-year player coming in. He's a experienced NFL quarterback, and a very intelligent one at that. And so there's times where we'll allow him to do that because it's in the best interest of the offense and the team to do it. There's other plays we don't want him to, but we're certainly not going to we're going to put him in a position to make sure that he's protecting the football while running the play.
Jay Cutler, a franchise quarterback?
Jay Cutler is a guy who loves football. Jay Cutler is a guy who's willing to learn. Jay Cutler, to me, in my very short time with him, wants to do everything he can to help this franchise and please our amazing fans. And that's where we're going to start. And we're going to work one day at a time in a proactive way with a sense of urgency to get him to be the guy that he wants to be and we want him to be.
For some, just mechanical things, maybe he's not always consistent with his mechanics. How much do you think just tweaks with that will help him as a player?
We're going to go to work as soon as we leave here on multiple levels with Phil and our personnel. But part of the calendar is getting together with Jay, taking it play by play throughout the season, evaluating his performance in different ways on a macro level and on a micro level. The big things that he does, that he wants to improve on and we want him to improve on, and the micro level, from taking a snap to dropping back and throwing the football and everything in between. And it's a meticulous process. And so that's the way we're going to start. And whether it was an 8-year-old starting football or a 28-year-old who played 8 or 10 years in the National Football League, and a 41-year-old quarterback this year. Every first day of training camp, this is a football. And the fundamentals and techniques are the most important thing to helping our football team win. Quarterback's got a big job. He's got to protect the ball. And he's got to live for the next play. He does it a number of different ways. At the snap, in the running game, in the confines of the pocket, locating the ball and outside the pocket. And there's fundamentals and skills and techniques you got to have to do that. And we're going to start at day one from trying to get that done. That's a great question, and some of it I can answer and some of it I can't, objectively. Number one, I've watched the man play for a lot of years. He exemplifies what being a Chicago Bear is all about, and we all know that. When I step out of this room, we'll begin to study, and I'll talk to Phil about where personnel fits on this football team and how it works. And I need to be educated to that, and I can't wait to get started.
Do you want him?
I have a feeling that this guy has been a great player for this team. I recognize certainly what he's meant to this locker room and to the fan base of Chicago, of the Chicago Bears. And when we get done here, we'll begin to try to answer some of those questions, and Phil will educate me to that.
How many games were you able to really watch, NFL games? Do you try to watch all of them, or do you just try to watch a handful?
Most of my NFL games, I'm fortunate enough that I watch when the season's over. I take the top teams in the league and I break them down in all three phases. I've done it for the last 5 years. During the season, I'm focused on one thing, and I was on the success on a daily basis of the Montreal Alouettes, focusing on just getting these guys better, getting them comfortable, getting them ready to play, and making sure that when we leave the practice field and we leave our facility, that they're ready to go on to the next day and win the day on game day.
You're so well revered in the CFL as a players coach, based upon what the players say. How do you get a franchise in the NFL to buy in very quickly to the word that you preach?
Well, at the end of the day, my experience in the NFL over 17 years was exactly the same as it was in the CFL when it comes to the locker room. The guys we have up there, I can confidently say, or let me reverse it. The guys that are here are just like the guys I experienced in the last 5 years. Conversely, I know what I'm getting myself into because they're the same guy. They want discipline. The best players want a disciplined football team around them. They want guys around them that are organized, prepare in detail each and every day, know the opponent, and know how to master and want to master their craft. They want coaching They want to be great. There's no doubt about it. So I don't see a difference. I'm just excited to get down here and coach the Chicago Bears.
Are anybody else interested in you in the coaching carousel?
You know what? I've never commented on that. The 5 years I was in Montreal, and I don't think that's appropriate now. The best part of it, the Chicago Bears were interested in me. Phil Emery was interested in me, and I couldn't be happier to be here. I didn't get the start of the question. Well, you know we got Joe D, right? And you know we got Aaron. So you can recognize from that we feel a sense of urgency to get that started. You know, one of the things I want to do, because I've been in their shoes, I want to get down the hall here and get a chance to meet and talk to the coaches and let them know I empathize with their position. They're sitting in their chairs waiting to know what we're going to do, and I want to make sure I talk to Phil and make sure we give these guys the respect and the dignity that they deserve, and we'll begin that process as we move along.
What did you think of the offensive reliance on Brandon Marshall last year?
All I know was his productivity. You know, I know he caught over 100 balls. I know he averaged 12.9. That's great productivity. I didn't see him play enough to comment even more. Obviously, just by that, you'd have to say he was a pretty darn good player. Let me just, was that you, Dan? I knew you'd ask a great question. Okay. I knew you'd do that, Dan. You know, you want to make sure, this is how I see it. You want to make sure a defense can defend everybody. Because as soon as they focus on one, they've got the better hand. So we want to make sure that we can attack the field sideline to sideline, and we'll try to do that with our offense to move the ball around. But we're always going to try to get the ball to the open guy. That's what really matters. And Brandon Marshall was open, so they threw the ball to him. That's all I know from statistically speaking. That's what I know statistically speaking. But obviously, we want our players involved. We want our players involved and feel a part of it. But to speculate at this point, I can't. There's so much work to do. And again, on so many different levels, I'm just excited to get started.
With limited resources and maybe a lack of real size in Canada, how did you develop an offensive line? And can you apply some of that stuff here?
That's a great question. The box in the CFL is the same as the box down here. You know, it really doesn't change. The protection schemes up there and the blitzes we see up there are the same blitzes that we're going to see each and every week on Sunday down here. So the development and the coaching of those players is absolutely the same. That's really it in a nutshell. The field's wider, it's longer. I'm excited we get 4 downs now instead of 3 downs to make a first down. I'm excited about that. I'm excited that our defensive coaches don't have to deal with all the multiple motions and formations that our defensive coaches would walk into me and say, how are we going to handle this? It's impossible to defend these types of motions. So at the end of the day, the box is the box. The player development is the same, and the coaching's got to be outstanding and is outstanding in Canada just like it is in the NFL.
Is there a chance you will bring some assistants from Canada with you, and you have final say on your staff?
I'll answer the last question first. I have final say on the staff. Certainly with anything that Phil and I do, it's going to be a collective process. I want his input. I don't have all the answers. He can give me perspective that I don't have. So yes, I will have final say, and Phil has said that to me on a number of occasions as we talk ideas. A reminder, you decide who your coaches are. And to answer that question so long, I forgot the first part of it. Yes, there will be some guys coming down. I've talked to them about it, but we haven't locked it up because they may have other opportunities or decide to move in a different direction. But I would expect we'd have a few guys from the staff come south.